Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Carew, and I'm here in the home of Tom and Breda Tierney by the shores of Lough Gur, the enchanted lake of Lough Gur. And we're looking out onto the enchanted lake, and to my right we can see Knockadune. Straight ahead, right in the middle of the lake, is Garrod Island, and just beyond that is Knockfinnell. And slightly to the left, we're looking down and we can see Lough Gur House, which was the home at one time of the Countess Alice's. And as I say, I'm here with Tom Tierney, and we're going to have a little chat this evening. And I'll start by asking you, Tom, and saying you're not actually a native of Lough Gur. So you might tell us a little about yourself, your family, and where you came from, and how you ended up in Lough Gur.
Okay, thanks, John. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not. I actually come from a place called Castlestown-Ballyagran, which is more West Limerick, and but I've been coming to Lough Gur now for quite a while. And of course, the reason I'm here has to do with your sister Breda, who started going over in 1980, and as the fella says, one thing led to another. We got married, and in 1988, we moved to Lough Gur, effectively, and we lived up on the other road over near Roisin, and lived there until 4 years ago when we moved down to this house here. This house here was a house owned by Michael Casey, and it was the family home of the Caseys, Ollie next door and Pat. And we bought it and we extended it and renovated it, and it was our decision to retire here, and I'm delighted with the result. The fantastic location, and that's a view that actually I would argue money couldn't buy. You know what I mean?
It couldn't buy.
And I suppose the one thing I've always said here to the people, Lough Gur is somewhere that whether it is sunshine, rain, hail, snow, wind, that landscape just is magical, in terms of, to see it now. It's a beautiful, calm evening. You can see the lake is like a mirror, and you can see the reflections of it. I've often come out here, and you get up on a morning, and you'd have the mist over the lake, and then it rises, or you could have the sun shining over the west there in the evening coming in. It's a different picture every day.
And of course, on a frosty evening, as the sun is setting blood red, and I've often seen it myself, the lake would be blood red. So I often think to myself, when the Neolithic people arrived here and they saw that, they must have thought it was magical. It must have been a god or so. And
absolutely, yeah.
You have that view every evening.
I do. I'm lucky. I get to have it. As I say, I moved over here in 1988, and we settled over here. And I suppose I've become part of the Lough Gur community. What goes on here, I still be regarded as a blow-in, even though I'm 38 years here. But that said, fantastic people here, great neighbours, and I suppose I was lucky when I did come over to get involved with Michael Quinlan, and I would regard Michael as one of my greatest friends from Lough Gur, and we did many things together. We sang together, we did music together. He brought me in to do the tour guide stuff here, and taught me about Lough Gur, and taught me of the history and the heritage. And so even though they say I'd be a blow-in, I would regard myself as pretty knowledgeable and pretty into the local area here, yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you, Tom. You just didn't come to Lough Gur. You came here and you got stuck in.
Yeah.
So one of the first things you got involved in was, of course, the choir with Michael.
Yes.
And then, of course, Lough Gur here.
Yes.
You went on to be chairperson of Lough Gur Development. Can you talk a bit about Lough Gur Development and what it did for the lake here, for Lough Gur and the community?
No, absolutely. I suppose I'd always be a great believer in community involvement and people doing things for themselves. And when I came here, Lough Gur Development Association was in existence, and we had some projects, and the first project we did was the renovation of the Honey Fits into a rural theatre. And I suppose at the time we needed to kind of, up our act a small bit, because it was only an association. So we formed Lough Gur Development Co-op, and we went out to the community, we fundraised, and that became our vehicle then for maybe the last 30 years for various initiatives. The first major one was, as I said, the renovation of the Honeyfits, where we got leader funding from Ballyhour Development, and that gave us our base over there. And then there was the ongoing issue with the lake. And when I came here first, the centre at the lake was managed by Shannon Heritage, and it was doing okay, but like the centre itself was beginning to be downgraded, and the thatch was poor. It only opened kind of at office hours, and we felt there was a massive opportunity being missed. And I suppose after a lot of effort, we finally managed to get an arrangement with Limerick County Council, where we, Lough Gur Development, took over the running of the centre, but more importantly, got the leader funding to actually renovate it to the centre that you have down there today. And I would regard that probably as one of the greatest things we did, and we brought that life back. And we then, as a group, voluntarily ran the centre, and we opened at hours that suited the visitors. And I'm glad to say it's gone from strength to strength. And now it's gone back under the tuition or the stewardship now of Limerick County Council through Limerick Tourism DEC. But it's extended. They've put in the playground there. They have the coffee kiosk. Again, all coming from the people of Lough Gur Development and the local community getting stuck in. And of course, over that time as well, we brought in the Kennedys and enhanced the Kennedy link when Jean Kennedy Smith came to Lough Gur and formally opened our theatre, as we named it, the Honeyfits Theatre, after her grandfather. Yeah, that's correct. And
seeing that you've talked about the Fitzgeralds and the Kennedys, you might just tell the people a little of the connection with Lough Gur, the Fitzgeralds and the Kennedys.
Well, I mean, everyone knows the Kennedy-Irish connection from the Wexford side and on the paternal side, but on the mother side, Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy, her great-grandparents, wasn't it? Yeah. It actually came from here. The Hannans came from here, Lough Gur, and the Fitzgeralds came from Bruff. And to be fair, the people in Bruff have done great work in the last, I suppose, 5 to 10 years in re-establishing the Fitzgerald link. But I would argue there was a hell of a lot of work done prior to that, through Michael Quinlan mainly, in establishing the Kennedy Fitzgerald link down here and going where the Hannon estate was. And he was in correspondence with Edward Kennedy when he was senator, and has the correspondence, and reinforced the connection, and particularly the connection with Honeyfits, who is reputed to have come here in, when was it, 1906 was it, or in the early part of the 20th century, actually visited Lough Gur. But through the constant contact with Michael, and we managed to, as I say, renovate the old school, as it was, or the old church, to the Honeyfits Theatre. And Edward Kennedy wasn't able to come, but when we made the approach, Jean Fitzgerald Kennedy was at the time ambassador to Ireland, and she and her sister, Eunice, what was her second name? But her sister, they actually came here, and we had a fantastic occasion, and we brought all the community together. You must remember it, and they formally opened it, and that was in September, I think. And as a courtesy, then they invited us to come back to the American ambassador's residence in the Phoenix Park for Thanksgiving. And it was Michael Quinlan, there was myself, there was George Finch, Kevin Doody, Lord rest him, and Father, no, the other man from Carew, or from Nina, he was here at the time. But we did, and they asked us to do a rendition of the song that Honeyfits himself used to do on his when he was on the hustings, Sweet Adeline. And we performed that in the ambassador's residence, and next up after us were the chorus. So
one verse of Sweet Adeline.
Let me just sing. Sweet Adeline, my Adeline. Well, no, sorry, no, I'll park that now a second. I had it in my head. Sweet Adeline.
It's great to put a fella on the line, isn't it?
I just had a mental block there. We'll come back to that in a second. But so again, that reinforced the whole link and established it. As I say, to be fair, now the people in Bruff have picked up the mantle and have now created the Fitzgerald school, Rose Fitzgerald, school, which goes on in the
October Bank Holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Of course, Tom, the Fitzgeralds actually originally came from Lough Gur, just up the road here from you.
Yeah. There was the Hannons as well. Then there was
Michael Hannon as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think I said it to you, Daniel, the other day. I was over with my son in Boston there a few years ago, and I think it's St. Paul's cemetery. And I went to visit it, and I found the graves of Michael Hannon and Mary Ann Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And I was very proud to do that and get my photograph taken with it. So, keeping the connection alive. And another thing, and I don't know, did you ever experience it when you would do a tour in Lough Gur with Americans?
Yeah.
And if you ask them afterwards what surprised them most about Lough Gur, and yes, they were expecting to hear about the folklore and the fairies and about castles and all this. But what they were really surprised was the connection, the Kennedys. Yeah. And there was, I always say, a double whammy on the mother's side, because there was the Fitzgeralds and the Hannons, of course.
Yeah. And especially when you go down to New Church and you could actually go to the gravestone with the Hannon, where the Hannon grave is, and so it made it real, and it gave that kind of. I suppose it brought the history up to the future for people, and they were able to kind of nearly touch it. You know what I mean? And because this is very easy to get caught back in the Neolithic age and the Bronze Age and all that kind of stuff. But when you can bring something right up to the modern day, that grabs people's attention. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Just to move on a bit then, Tom, and that was your connection with Lough Gur development, but that wasn't the only thing in the community that you got stuck into, will we say. You're singing there, the choir, for many, many years with Michael Quinlan and the rest of the choir. Yeah.
No, that's true. I mean, I suppose I've always had a love of singing, and when I came over here first, through the school, because when your kids go to school, that's where you start to know people. Michael was the choir master, and there was a tradition of having a choir every Sunday, and I got involved very early, and I'm here, how long? 88. And we've continued that tradition. Michael passed away there a number of years back, but his daughter on, has kept the show going. And it's rare that there isn't choir at Sunday Mass in Lough Gur. And if we don't have an accompaniment, we just turn up and we sing anyway. So again, it's a fantastic tradition, and it's just something, I suppose, that again is kind of synonymous with going to Mass in Lough Gur.
And to move on again, then you also involved with Lough Gur Amateur Dramatic Society.
Yeah, that's true. I had taken a bit of a break. I got involved, as you do, and we're involved in plays. And then I stepped back out of it for about 10 years due to my own business commitments and my own day job. At the time, I was working in Galway, so it wasn't very easy to be available. But 2 years ago, they roped me back in, so I've now had 2 plays in the last 2 years. The recent one being The Weir by Conor McPherson. And as it so happens, there's a bunch of us tomorrow from Lough Gur Development, or Lough Gur Dramatic Society, heading to Dublin to see Brendan Gleeson and Sean McGinley and Tom Vaughan Laurer in The Weir in the Olympia. And I'm really looking forward to that, actually. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it myself.
Yeah.
And of course, Lough Gur Dramatic Society has put on some wonderful players down through the years, and prize-winning players. Yeah.
Super, I mean, and again, I suppose that was the whole thing. We've an unusual kind of centre to our community insofar as we don't have a church. We have a church, we have a school, and we have a community centre. We don't have a pub. We have a pub locally, but we don't have a pub or a shop, and we still manage to make that our kind of centre. And it's a focal point for the community, and the Honey Fitz is great for that. But as John said, there's a great tradition of amateur dramatics here, and I suppose one that would have stood out to me was at the time we did The Field, they did The Field, and Seamus Dooley took the lead as the Bull McCabe, and at the same time as that was happening here, John Kenny was starring in it in Charleville, and they were both on at the same time. And I went to both of them the same week, and there was fierce pride because the production that was put on here was every bit as good as what was happening in Charleville. And
if not better.
As an argument, but like Lord to Mercy and John, he's passed on. He was a brilliant Bull McCabe, but Seamus Dooley nailed it. Yeah. You know, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that goes on here that you don't kind of. It goes in the background, you know.
Seamus Dooley being the Bull McCabe has been very good to me because I wrote a piece for him afterwards when he's below in hell, the ghost of the Bull McCabe, and it has taken me to a lot of places around the country and even out farm, so it has been very good to me as well.
There you go.
Yeah. So Tom, Lough Gur, and we've got the history here, and we've got people like you to come in, and Lough Gur has had that tradition, even going back to the Neolithic Bronze Age. People always came and added to this community, and going forward, we'll hope that'll happen as well. But seeing that you're here so near the lake, and there is the folklore and the fairies and Gorodierla, I'm just wondering, have you seen anything a little strange at night?
You're often to go out there at night, especially on a nice cold night with a clear sky, and you know you'd be asking yourself the question. I can't say that I have, but you know, over recent times we've had meteor shower there last week, and then there was the Northern Lights there a couple of months back, where like literally behind the hills the sky lit up, and you know, with a naked eye you could see the Northern Lights. So you know, I've never bumped into any of the characters, as well as I've spoke a lot about them, but I'm still waiting to meet one of them in person. But not yet.
Not yet. We could organise it. So Tom, thank you very much. But we're not going to let you go without getting one little verse of a song from you, because ladies and gentlemen that are listening to me here, Tom Tierney is so well known in this area for his beautiful singing voice. It would be a pity to let him go without just getting one little verse from him. So over to you, Tom.
Okay, so I suppose taking the American connection and the fact that so many people left here to go to the States and that, I suppose I'll just give you a verse of Ellis Island, which was kind of remembers that for Irish people. On the first day of January 1892, they opened Ellis Island and they let the people through. And the first across the threshold of the Isle of Hope and Fear was Annie Moore from Ireland, who was only 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears, but it's not the isle I left behind. That Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again, but the Isle of home is always on your mind. In a little bag she carried all her past and history, her dreams of the future in the land of liberty. And in springtime when I came here and I stepped onto its pier, I thought of how it must have been when you're only 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears, but it's not the isle I left behind. That Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again, but the Isle of hope is always on my mind. There you go.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much, Tom, for having us to your lovely home. And just before I leave you, I'd like to also thank Daniel Clancy for coming in recording here in Lough Gur this evening. So thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right.
Okay.
That was lovely. Thanks for the song as well.
I asked the words of the other one in my head. But that's fine. You can.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's live.
Yeah.
That's good too, isn't it?
Unless you remember it and you want to give it in, we can edit it in if you want, but you have the option.
I think that's lovely because they know then it's
No, it's fine. I'm happy to. You do whatever editing you want.
No, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Is there any little thing you would like to say that we didn't ask you, or anything you'd like to add, or any other memory or anything you'd go
So I
in?
think no.
It's okay if you don't, but
yeah.
if there's anything, work away.
I suppose no, I think we kind of covered it there. Like, I mean,
And I think
to the point of
myself,
history, yeah.
you know, all the interviews that I've done and everything, we've spoken to what we'll call people that were born and raised here. But it's great to see someone the likes of Tom Tierney coming into this community and, adding so much to it. And as I said earlier, we can go back over 6,000 years in history here, and the Neolithic people came here. I'm sure the Mesolithic people were here as well, but they were, of course, hunters gatherers, and it's very hard to find evidence of those. But the Neolithic people, all the way up along, so people always came to Lough Gur, attracted by Lough Gur for some reason, and I myself think that it's just an enchanted place, and I think you'd agree with me there, Tom.
Oh yeah, I mean, I suppose we're lucky to be able to live here because of the nature of the place. When you look out there, there's no telephone wires, there's no pylons, there's no yard lights. That is natural state, and it's fantastic in a way, you know. And I suppose from my point of view, I've been living here. I'm living in Lough Gur longer than I lived anywhere. I'm 2/3 of my life here now. But I wouldn't still regard myself as a native, you know. But as I said, why? Well, you've the place itself, but you've the people, and you know it's the people that ultimately make a region or a place. And there's great people here. They let you alone if you want to be left alone. They'll help you if you're stuck, and they'll invite you in as well. So that's what it's about, really. You know what I mean? So for me, that's Lough Gur in a nutshell, like.
And just before I let you go, because I forgot to say it to you, because you were tell me about the nature and the wildlife that you see here every day.
Yeah, I mean it's like living in a nature sanctuary. Because when I get up in the morning, and I looked out the back window, and I had rabbits running around my back lawn, and out on perched on one of the posts at the back was a hawk, and there's a hawk, and he flutters ever so often over the hedgerow there. There he was perched, and he flew off, and I'm also looking in. I get to see the geese flying into the lake. It's just
Swans.
The swans. Yeah. And then again, of course, it's rural, and you see the cattle over there, and they're grazing down by the water, and you've got the ducks. You've got everything here. Like, and as I say, I remember. I suppose if we go back to the year, John, when the lake froze over, what was that year? 95, was it?
Oh no.
No.
Was it 9 and 10?
Father Liam was here at the time, remember?
Well, for the millennium, they said the mass by the lake, and it was a fierce cold morning.
It was a beautiful morning. Yeah, it was a cold morning, and we were there, and we had, as the sun rose, we had a mass at the lake front, and we sang, and there was bonfires on the hill. But the year the lake froze over, and it froze so hard that we walked across the water. And Father Liam Holmes, Lord to mercy him, who was our PP at the time, a great man too. He got a great kick out of the fact that he walked on water, and he would say Jesus wasn't the only fellow who walked on water. Father Liam did it, and it was. And again, it was a very unusual time. Like the whole place got locked down literally for nearly a week and a half. It froze
2009, 2010.
Probably was, yeah.
I think it was,
yeah, probably was, yeah.
It froze twice in the 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was fierce fun on the lake, and you had people walking across the water, yeah. So, we could be here all night thinking of
talking about it,
new things, like, but there's all those events, and they're in the back of their heads there somewhere, and it's only when you start talking about them, they come out.
Can I ask one question? Sorry, just something that you mentioned there, how, you know, you said you kind of joked, you were blowing, you know, but you've been so heavily involved in the community, and you even represented the community, you said, when you went abroad, and been involved with development. You're very much a part of it by the sounds of it. Like does it feel like, did it become a point where you felt like, right, I am, you know, this is home, I belong to this place? Did that come into it at some point?
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, wherever I go now, my address is Lough Gur, like. My two children are both residents of Lough Gur. They've been brought up in Lough Gur. They're still living in Lough Gur, and their children live in Lough Gur. So if once you go past me, like, they're all Lough Gur people. But no, I mean, I now regard myself, you never forget your roots. And especially with GAA season, you know, I cast Town Belly Grand, man. But I'm over here now, it's Lough Gur and Knockany, and that's it. But no, you're right. I mean, I see myself as part of Lough Gur now.
And the community sees him as a Lough Gur person, which is very important as well.
Well, that helps. That helps.